Welcome to The Body's Compass. I'm your host, Matt. Today I'm joined by a very interesting human being.
Was that good or
John,
bad?
we'll find out together. John, just so the listeners can get to know who you are and get a deeper sense and what and how your background influences your viewpoints on what we'll talk today. Can you share an overview of what shaped you as a man and what led you into starting your companies and now farming?
How long have we got? I reckon we could probably go for 12 hours, but I'll try and keep it.
We'll see how the battery goes, but
See how we go. Well, I'm a Kiwi, born in a little small town, Waiuku in New Zealand. So I grew up in a rural community. My dad was a headmaster of a two-teacher school. So tiny. It was like the role went from sort of anywhere from 20 kids to 35 maximum. So grew up, didn't wear shoes, in nature all the time. We had 5 siblings. My parents divorced when I was around 6 years old, and myself, my younger brother, and my eldest sister lived with dad, and my other 2 siblings lived with mum. So that was interesting. I've always, ever since I was a young boy, I saw through the bullshit. I was able to look at things and think, well, this just doesn't make any sense. And I think that's carried on throughout my life. My dad developed cancer, lymphomic cancer, when I was about 8 or 10, I think it was, and he became a born-again Christian. And so he dragged myself and my younger brother Roger off to missionary schools and all this sort of stuff. We ended up actually smuggling Bibles from Hong Kong into China. So,
as you do.
Yeah, as you do. I know that's a very responsible parenting myself, but at the time, this was in the 80s, I think, late 70s, probably. And as a young fella, I didn't buy into this Christianity bullshit, basically. I sort of saw straight through it, and that's sort of something that's held with me right throughout my life. And interestingly, my dad, he died when he was 60. He had this lymphomic cancer for 12 or 13 years. And he, with this Christianity thing, there was so much guilt and shame and all these things associated with it. And he read this book 5 years before he died, and it just turned his world upside down. He turned it on its head, and he said that those last 5 years of his life, despite ending up dying of cancer, were the happiest 5 years of his life. So,
Do you remember the book?
Okay, I knew you were going to ask that. My brother Roger would be able to tell you.
Cool. Roger?
But Roger will let me know one day, and I'll let you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Try and get it in the show notes then.
Yeah. So, brought up in rural community. Spent a lot of time in nature on the farm, bare feet. Education-wise, I was pretty brainy. I think it's probably the most unusual topping of class ever. Yeah. I topped in metalwork and home economics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I wanted to be a chef when I was younger, and then things didn't work out, but didn't really feel school was doing me any good, so I left halfway through year 12 and became a sales cadet for a horticultural chemical company of all things, selling glyphosate and the like. So that was interesting.
I remember people like you coming around to the golf course, trying to sell shit.
Yeah.
Giving you free pens and pads and posters and
radios. We had little transistor radios we gave away one year, I remember. I remember one of my customers, he was the son, I think he was an Indian guy, and he was describing his old man mixing up big tanks of organophosphate chemical insecticide and birds flying over and falling out of the sky. Wow. And his dad died in his early 60s. Yeah. And I think, to be honest, both my parents died of cancer very young, and I think my dad was a keen gardener and used a lot of chemical, and I'm sure that was part of that process.
Well, I remember spraying on the bowling green and the golf course. We had to, full hazmat suits and everything.
Yeah.
We'd spray some insecticide, then the worms would be screaming out of the soil, the birds that eat the worms, and then the next day we'd find bird vomit.
Yeah.
And the occasional dead bird.
Yeah.
So
And now they're spraying our fucking suburbs with glyphosate. They're killing weeds, and it's just around us. It's everywhere.
We'll get to that, no doubt.
Yeah, sorry, you're getting me agitated already, mate. So education, small school. I left when I was 17, and I did 3.5 years, I think, working as a sales rep. Saved up enough money and put myself through uni and did a marketing degree. And at around about the same time, I was always really good at sports. I think like you, like pretty much everything. You
mastered everything.
Master above average. Yeah, my ego told me I was a master. Yeah. But I always had a passion for running, and at around that same time, I thought I'll give it a crack. I always won school champs, did pretty well regionally, but never really trained. So I went to a local athletic club, found a coach, and within a year, I was a New Zealand under-20 champ. So that was a big part of my life. I was very injury prone, and ended up one day, it was just before the Barcelona Olympics qualifying season. Got to the end of my driveway on my Sunday morning run, and my whole body seized up, and that was it. It's all over. So that was, I've had a lot of trauma in my life. That was definitely one of the big ones that really affected me. And, I really thank you, Matt, we'll talk about my health journey a little bit later, but a big part of that journey is going back and looking at those traumas and sort of forgiving myself, forgiving the situation, and dealing with that stuff. With my parents being divorced and all that stuff, it was a big piece of the puzzle that was missing for me a few years ago when I hobbled into your office for the first time.
I'll put photos of that on Instagram too.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of your journey. But on that, you came to me several years ago with what was medically diagnosed as rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
It's technically an autoimmune disease. So can you share your experiences through that? And what are some of the things that you did to help that?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take it a step back, because around about 6 years ago, I was right in the middle of setting up the business. I was working 90 hours a week, 7 days a week.
Was this Fair Traders?
Fair Traders, which is my food distribution business, which we can talk about later.
Yep.
Very high stress levels. Went to the toilet, noticed some blood in my stool, went and got a colonoscopy. And
how long ago was this?
6 or 7 years ago.
So that 2018?
Years and dates, I don't know. But I think it was I was still in my old warehouse, so that was 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
So that was my first wake-up call. I was working 90 hours a week. Had this diagnosis, went into surgery, dealing with oncologists and being trying to force me to take chemotherapy drugs. The drug that they were trying to push on me, and my specific condition, there was a 2% benefit over 5 years if I did nothing but take that drug.
2%?
2% benefit, and they were trying to push these chemotherapy drugs on me, which are going to destroy my immune system and fuck me up for at least 6 months.
So is that like a 98% risk, 2% reward type thing?
Yes. So, well, there was a 2% reward after 5 years of doing this protocol.
Yeah.
And that didn't take into account diet, nutrition, exercise, meditation, life, all the other stuff that I was doing at the time. So you look, that young boy in me, challenging and being skeptical. So I refused the chemotherapy. I did a lot of work on myself, so I started going down the nutritional rabbit hole. I listened to thousands and thousands of hours of podcasts. I ended up, my sort of protocol before the arthritis was sort of living an ancestral type lifestyle, so eating locally and seasonally. I was doing a lot of meditation, breath work, cold therapy, all that stuff. I pretty much thought I had my life and my myself dialed in. I'd also suffered chronically from depression, and that was pretty much cleaned up. I think the eating more sort of an animal base and just really dialing in my nutrition really helped that depression. It still was there a little bit sometimes. So I thought I was on track, and I actually had a field day, a natural sequence farming, regenerative agricultural field day at our farm. That was on a Sunday afternoon, and on the Sunday morning, I felt in my left toe, and it felt like gout, an attack of gout coming on. I ended up doing the field day on crutches, and then overnight it just became so chronic, it moved up into my knees. It was so bad that I couldn't walk. I had to
I remember.
I had to crawl out of bed and pee in a pot.
Yeah.
And so I thought, fuck. So I rang the ambulance the next morning. The ambulance turned up and they gave me 3 shots of morphine.
Were you at your farm?
I was at the farm by myself.
So in Bradenwood?
In Braidwood.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was half an hour away from the nearest town.
Yep.
So they gave me 3 shots of morphine. I still couldn't stand. So they had to carry me or drag me out of the house. I was hoping for the green whistle in the ambulance. I was thinking about, can I have the green whistle with it? No, they didn't give me that. They gave me another 3 shots, got me into hospital. Cut a long story short, they gave me a massive dose of prednisone, I think it was, or some sort of anti-inflammatory, and sent me home with a prescription. I think it was, I don't know, I can't remember what it was at the time. We spent about 2 months trying to work out what it was, and I ended up at a rheumatologist who was one of the leading rheumatologists, and so they diagnosed it as spondyloarthritis, which is an autoimmune disease, and he said to me, look, John, this is one of the worst cases I've seen. Your inflammation levels are off the charts. We're going to start you on this drug, which is methotrexate. But to be honest with you, this is a process we have to go through. I don't believe that's going to work. We're going to then try another drug, and then another drug, and then you're going to end up on a biological. And I remember asking him, I said, well, so this is really weird that this happened, because it just suddenly came on and no warning.
Yeah.
What causes it? And he said, well, we don't know. And I just thought that was a bit weird. And I said, mate, you've been studying this stuff for 40 years and you don't know what causes it. And he said, no, we don't. And I said, okay. So I left and I took this drug for 2 weeks, and then something was calling me and saying, hey, John, this is not what you need to do. It's not going to work for you. And I decided at that time that I was going to do it. I was going to get off the drugs. And
how many drugs were you on?
I was on prednisone, a very high dose of prednisone, which started not working, and I was on this methotrexate, which is a drug they use to suppress immune systems in people who you're doing organ transplants and that sort. What was the chemotherapy drug? One of the two. So a couple of really powerful medications. Took myself off the methotrexate. I kept myself on the prednisone at that stage because I couldn't walk without it. But I decided, fuck it, I'm going to heal myself. So I went down a further rabbit hole. I'm so grateful and thankful that I met you, Matt, because you were instrumental in...
That was a mutual friend of ours.
Mutual friend, Stuart Williams. Thank you, Stewie, mate. So I met you, and look, I'm not going to say that you healed me, because you didn't. I healed myself. You were a facilitator. Your hands-on stuff was fucking awesome, but what I really loved was that you guided me in the direction to be able to deal with some of this stuff and to make me understand that this disease has happened because it's a wake-up call for you. This is the pain teacher coming along so that you can work out your life and what's going on, what's caused stuff in the past. And so I was able to let go a lot.
So there was a lot of suppressed emotions at that point.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the first things I picked up.
Yeah.
And that's when we had a chat.
Yeah. And I remember the first time I came here and I was on crutches. I could hardly drive.
Yeah.
And I got to the bottom of those stairs down and I thought, fuck you, bastard. How the fuck? How am I going to get up those stairs? But I managed to get up the stairs and we started working through some stuff and I was able to eventually after, I can't remember how long it was,
So
probably
that was
3 or 4 months.
That was in October, I think. Did you walk out of here? I think you actually walked out of here that day holding your crutches, not needing them.
I can't remember. Maybe.
So I got the video of that.
But yeah, I remember those stairs were frightening. And one of the things that I think was really powerful for me, I was doing a lot of work. I was doing breath work, I was doing cold therapy, I was doing meditation. You know, I did a lot of that Joe Dispenza sort of stuff. But I got well enough to be able to go to work for short periods of time. I was able to drive into work and do a bit of stuff and then come home. And I decided on the way to work that I'd stop at a park and just do some exercise because I just needed that. I was able to do pull-ups and press-ups and a little bit of calisthenic stuff. And I thought, well, fuck, if I can run again, I know that I'm going to be healed. And so what I started doing was on my crutches, I would do about a 50-metre hobble, but I'd visualise myself sprinting. And then at the end of that 50-metre hobble, I would visualise, I don't know if visualise is the right word, but I would experience the emotions that I would feel when I was able to actually do that sprint again. And I repeated that 10 times, and then just gradually over time, I was able to drop my crutches and I was able to walk it. And then I was able to do a fast walk, and then I was gradually built up to being able to sprint again. So that was monumental.
I remember early in our journey, I asked, you said something about, I want to be healed, and I asked you to define that. And that was one of the first, you kind of paused for a minute and said, I love running.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to point out. What does that look like for most people? So when they say, I want to get healed, well, some people are on this never-ending journey of healing.
Yeah.
They haven't defined it for themselves, therefore they're never going to get it.
Yeah.
You had a clear goal. It's like, when I can run, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that was your, what would you say out of 10 was your desire factor?
Fucking 20.
Yeah.
It wasn't 10.
Yeah.
It was massive.
Yeah.
I knew that, and look, it comes down to, I suppose, my ego. I knew I could do it, and I wanted to do it so badly, and I wanted to do it without drugs. I didn't want to go on drugs. I was determined that I could do it.
And how long were you on the drugs for from that?
Well, I was on methotrexate for two weeks before, which is the chemotherapy drug.
Yeah.
I think after about 4 weeks of seeing you, I made my own decision. You didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I dropped the prednisone and I was off everything, I believe.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. But it lingered for quite a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say you had good and bad days.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah. And there was a lot of shit to work through.
Yeah.
And I'm still working through a lot of shit now, but I'm at such a better place. And for me,
But at least you know the shit.
I know the shit.
You're not
and
suppressing it.
yes. And now when something happens, I don't go, oh, fuck, this has happened. I've got a sore knee or I've got a sore toe. It's like, okay, what's this trying to tell me? Then I take a step back and try and work out what's going on in my life, what might be triggering that from my past, and addressing that sort of stuff. So it's a bit like the regenerative agriculture. It's a different way of diagnosing a problem rather than I've got a sore head, take Panadol. It's like, I've got a sore head, what's causing that?
How to get to that point.
And what are and most often it's some sort of emotional stuff that's going on.
Well, it's one of the most overlooked aspects of not only rehab, but health in general, just the suppression of how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Because our emotions run our body. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But it's not medically recognised, or it's not, you're not going to find it in a double-blind study, so people don't give it the time of day.
No. It's weird, isn't it? Because, I mean, technically what I've done to myself is a miracle. If you talk to...
From a medical
perspective, it's like, I asked the guy, I said, has anyone ever healed themselves from this? Or has anyone not gone on drugs and got well? He said, no, I don't know of anyone.
Amazing.
And so How have I done it? Yeah.
Well, first of all, you believed you could.
Yes.
You had that North Star, that compass bearing to, what direction you were going to go.
Yeah.
And I think the goal to get better overcame the fear of being stuck in that.
Yeah.
And surrendering to that.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that word fear because there was so much fear
a bit there, yeah.
in my life, and
Yeah.
my fear of addressing issues in my life was very, very high, and it took me a long time to overcome that and to address some of these issues that I was having and had in my past life. Yeah.
So, John, you're involved in the Fair Traders,
Yep.
part-time farming, and you recently-ish started up your own brand, Starkers. What was the inspiration behind setting those up?
Okay. Well, the Fair Traders came first. So we talked about my career. Well, we didn't talk about my career, but I studied marketing at university after starting a sales role. I worked through corporate, worked out that I was very, very good at marketing and creative stuff, but not very good at the political game and arse licking. So I burnt myself out after 8 years of working in corporate. Ended up driving a rubbish truck in Sydney, of all things, for a couple of years. But I ended up working in small business, and my last role in small business was working for an organic chocolate company. And my Panna chocolate. Yeah, good.
I
good
noticed you
chocolate.
didn't bring any today, but that's
Good chocolate.
Yeah.
Anyway, we won't go any further.
Next episode. Yep.
So my role at Panna Chocolate, part of their role as a national sales manager was looking after distributors around the country. We had great partners in every state except for New South Wales. And I spent a couple of years trying to find a really good distributor. Couldn't find one. So I thought, fuck it, I'll do it myself. So I went to Panna with this proposal to set up a distribution business and solve his problems and start distributing Panna chocolate in New South Wales and Canberra. And he sacked me on the spot.
Right.
And I think the reason why he did that, he always saw me as his 2IC.
Right.
And he was really offended when I went to him and said that I wanted to do my own thing.
Right.
And mentally he just couldn't cope with that. He sacked me on the spot. I thought, shit, what am I going to do now? At the time, I was very close with my Victorian distributor, Fieldwood Foods. His name's George, top bloke. He was looking to bring a product in, and we got talking. I told him what had happened. He said, mate, why don't you distribute this product for me in New South Wales? And I just said, okay, right, I'll do it. And so he told me to strap on my bulletproof vest, which I needed many times.
Yeah.
And I flew home from Melbourne and said to my wife, Celia, look, I've lost my job and I'm going to start up a distribution business. So, a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to a situation. I took a $150,000 loan out. I told the bank I was building a new roof on my house, and I'm great at sales.
Metaphorically, there's an argument.
Yeah. What was I saying?
Took out a loan.
Took out a loan. I'm really good creative marketing and sales skills, but absolutely no idea about distribution and logistics. So I was going in blind. But, I had that dogged determination, that competitive streak in me that had shown out through my athletic career and my health journey and all that sort of stuff. So I just went hell for leather. And so, we've got the Fair Traders, which is a food distribution business. Our motto is eat real food, like our grandparents used to. I think if we can get that very, very simple message out to consumers to start eating, start cooking, start preparing your food at home and eating real food as step one, I think that would make a massive difference in we've got an epidemic of obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome, all this mental health shit going on. If people did that simple thing, that would make a massive difference. So the Fair Traders is about real food. We operate in the health food channel. We sell Australian-made health food products. We are very, very passionate about supporting Australian producers. There's so much well, look, there's good products and there's crap that comes in from overseas, but I just don't understand why more people don't genuinely support Australian retailers, producers and retailers. And we cover New South Wales and ACT. We sell to health food stores, independent grocers, greengrocers, those sort of places. And we sort of operate at the forefront of health and wellness trends. So we're launching stuff, we're talking about stuff before it becomes trendy. So we were talking about kombucha 10 years ago before Remedy came along and took control of everything. Now at the moment we're talking a lot about, we're talking about regenerative agriculture as one of our things, but we're really talking about real food and wholesome values and that sort of thing. And that's becoming a trend now that we're seeing. We're seeing a big swing away from plant-based nutrition to more animal-based, to more eating locally and seasonally. And so our customers see us as a partner that helps educate them on what's happening, what's the latest trend, and so they can be at the forefront. Yeah.
And you've got a farm in Braidwood.
Sort
of a farm. I mean, it's a farm.
It's a working farm. For me, it's big compared to my neighbour. I've got 120 acres, or we've got 120 acres. My neighbour's 1,500. But we farm beef cattle. We've got around 25, 26 head of cattle, and the motivation for that is it's an interesting story. My wife and I have always wanted a farm. That's always been in part of the plan, but we did fast track it. I remember my accountant came into work one day very proudly and said, my wife went to that climate change protest in Sydney yesterday afternoon, where they closed the streets down. I pulled my daughter out of school and they went and did this protest against climate change. And I looked at him and I said, Dan, mate, why don't you just go down to the beach? Take your group of protesters down to the beach, go down to Bondi Beach, clean up some rubbish, or do something actually positive rather than just protesting. And that sort of got me thinking, and I thought, well, what can I do to mitigate or to improve the environment in Australia? And I'd been down my rabbit hole with cancer, and sort of regen ag was sort of on the radar. And I thought, well, I'm going to go and buy a farm. I'm going to practice chemical-free, organic, regenerative farming, and I'm going to use that as a tool, one, to grow my own food, so I knew where it came from, and to share that with friends and family and colleagues and that sort of stuff. But also to help educate my customer base, because we sell to over 750 retail stores. I can use Talaganda Farm, which is the name of our farm, as an education piece to teach people about regenerative agriculture, teach them that cows burping is not the problem to CO2.
It's good marketing though.
Very good. I mean, incredible marketing. How animals on land in Australia can be a net benefit and can help to, not that I'm into sequestering carbon, but that's a thing. How it's pretty much impossible to farm organically without animals in the system. And Rudolf Steiner was a big proponent of, he was the biodynamics guy, and a big proponent of having animals in the system.
Well, you need animals they regulate everything.
Yeah.
Like you've got this field full of vegetation, whether you use pigs or cows or whatever else, they're going to maintain that. They're going to poo everywhere. Then you can put chickens in following that. The poo's going to attract flies, which would be considered a pest, and all other kinds of bugs. Chickens love maggots, so they're going to eat all the babies of the flies. They're going to spread the poo around, which fertilises the land, and then get a little bit of rain, pushes that into the soil, and there's the whole cycle.
Yeah, so it's nature.
Yeah.
Humans are part of nature. Yeah.
Humans fart too.
They do. And burp.
And burp,
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
So that's sort of the story of how we sort of got into Talleyrand Farm. And look, for me, I've had the last 10 years has been pretty full on with the business. I'm sort of getting to a stage now where the business is running a little bit more by itself. I've got a bit more work to do. But I just find farming, I'm not a natural, mechanical, practical sort of guy. Celia, my wife, she puts all the IKEA shit together. I can't do that. I can't read plans, building plans. It's like reading Swahili to me. So for me, a lot of the daily chores of being a farmer don't come natural to me, and I'm just loving learning. And I recently purchased an excavator, and it's like, if you'd asked me 18 months ago or told me, John, you're going to be driving an excavator and building condoors and stuff, I would have looked at you like you've got two heads. But I just love learning new stuff and just connecting with nature. I'm now, the more I go down there, the more when I'm back in Sydney, I can actually feel and hear the farm calling me back. It's beautiful.
Did Starkers come from that?
So Starkers, look, my goal always for the distribution business was to use that as a facility to launch our own brands.
Okay.
As I sort of went through my health journey, I ended up living what you can call an ancestral lifestyle. And so I decided, I spent about 2 or 3 years working on the concept for this brand. The original concept was nothing to hide. That was going to be the name of the brand. I wanted to create something that was open, honest, free of bullshit, no hidden ingredients. It was raw. And we sort of started refining that concept, and then we started talking about nudity and all this, as you do.
Yeah.
As you do. And Starkers came out of that.
Okay.
So Starkers is an ancestral living brand. The first product that we launched was an organic bone broth in a glass jar. I wanted to create...
Which I've tried, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I've given you some.
Yes, thank you.
Along with I gave you some beef heart and some mince today.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Starkers, it is an incredible product. So there are 3 simple ingredients: organic bones, filtered water, and Himalayan pink salt. So it's I wanted a product that anyone could consume unless you're plant-based vegan. So the 3 simple ingredients, the hero is the produce. So the chicken and the beef really stand out. And when we're doing tastings in stores, people are just blown away by it. So really proud.
It tastes clean.
Yeah.
And it's got that ancestral, it's like, yeah, this is what we're meant to consume.
Yeah.
It's not too watery, it's not.
And it's not full of shit like herbs and which are great, and onions are great, garlic's great, but it's just those 3 simple ingredients. And if you talk to any professional chef, they always say keep it simple, just let the produce do the talking. So I'm really proud of what we've done with Starkers. It's a really fun brand, and there's going to be a lot more to come. I've, to be honest, neglected it a little bit over the last 6 months, so I'm looking forward to really spending some more time on Starkers and getting it out there. We're in about 120 stockists across New South Wales so far, so it's going really, really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
John, most people are unaware that there are many, many methods of farming used in food production. Most know about commercial and organic, and unfortunately even few care about where their food is coming from. What's the main difference that you're seeing, or that you see looking at regenerative natural sequence farming compared to other farming practices?
It's a mindset. Firstly, my main goal with the purchase of our property was to be able to produce my own food and do it without using chemicals. So I had to take a step back and say, okay, well, how am I going to do that? Because it's not easy. Farming traditionally, it's what everyone does. It's what the local agronomist at the local shop knows and recommends. And look, it's not easy, but it's a pretty straightforward process. To do it without chemicals relies on a lot more thought and just a different process. I'll give you an example. So, well, let's talk about weeds. So, my neighbours spray all their blackberries because they see that as a pest. It takes up space on their properties. The cows can't eat it, so they spray it and kill it with Roundup. We look at that bush and say, okay, that blackberry is there for a reason. What's it telling me? So it's telling me that there's either compacted soil or either an excess of nutrient or maybe some toxicity. So it's there to try and repair the landscape. The other thing that it does, it provides habitat for insects, birds, worms, where if I sprayed that, it's going to kill all those insects, birds, snakes, all that sort of stuff. But those animals and insects are bringing fertility to that little piece of land. So we look at weeds differently than a traditional farmer would. And there are a lot of different regenerative. Regenerative is a little bit sort of wishy-washy in a way because it can be all sorts of different things. But essentially what you're trying to do is farm in a way that you improve the environment and the biodiversity. So we do things like we have the Canberra Ornithological Society come to our property every 2 years and do a bird survey to see how what we're doing on the property is increasing the bird life, that sort of thing. So
the birds wouldn't come if there wasn't things for them to eat as
No.
well, so you're improving the soil.
No, and so if I'm drenching my cattle for worms, that drench is going out through their poo and it is killing the natural microbiome of their soil. Whereas on our place, that natural microbiome is there doing its thing. All the insects and the worms and the nematodes and all that sort of stuff are in the soil, so the birds come and eat it. So it's attracting more life, more wildlife. So it's a natural cycle that we're trying to introduce.
That's just really you connecting yourself to the land,
Connecting with nature.
like where we came from.
Yeah. It's not rocket science. Look, it does involve a lot more work. So we move our cattle regularly, whereas neighbours set stock. So the cattle go into a paddock and they stay there pretty much for their whole life. But you can also see very clearly, and I don't like comparing across the fence, but if you look at one of my neighbours to our place, there's a massive biodiversity of plants and different grasses and, all sorts of stuff. Whereas over the fence, it's just a monoculture of the one grass that's been able to survive with the cattle eating it all the time.
With one species of grass, you only get one sort of profile of rhizosphere and nutrients and soil type associated with that.
Yeah.
But with several different types. Nature doesn't like bare spots.
No.
It wants to fill it.
Yeah.
So if a dandelion, for example, blows in the wind, lands there, it wants to grow there. But most farmers, even gardeners, will spray that with Roundup. Now, new research has shown that once Roundup's in the soil, it doesn't ever go.
Right.
Ever.
Even though they told us it was water soluble and yeah.
So it's a non-contact systemic herbicide, which in English means it kills everything it touches.
Yeah. And it's interesting, people, I think there's no fear, or not much fear around Roundup. I was talking to another one of my neighbours the other day who's on the same planet as me in terms of conspiracy theories and climate change and all that stuff, but he said, "Oh, John, will you sell me one?" He said, "Oh, you don't use any chemicals, do you?" No. He said, "Will you sell me one of your cattle? We'll do a home kill." And I said, "Yeah, no problem at all." And then last weekend he came to me and I said, "Well, what have you been up to today, Craig?" He said, "Oh, no, I've been spraying all my blackberries." It's like, mate, 1 minute you're saying you don't want any chemicals, then you're fucking spraying blackberries.
Yeah.
But it's just a paradigm.
But that's someone who's stuck in a mindset of this is how you do it. I'm not going to challenge that.
Yeah, and just going along and not thinking.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also, following the crowd.
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, with commercial farming, we'll call it, it's so mainstream that if you go outside anything mainstream, I'm not just talking about farming, but in general, if you go outside that mainstream, you're labelled as a weirdo, or different, or hippie, whatever the label is, that's what you're labelled as. So it takes some kahunas to go against that.
Yeah, look, probably less so for me because I'm new. I'm the guy from Sydney who's got no fucking idea what he's doing, but giving it a crack. So for me, I don't have those inbuilt paradigms that I have to break. I don't have an old man, and I'm not responsible for 5 generations previously running this farm profitably. So I get it, but what I'm seeing is the guys my age, a lot of them are not, who are traditional farmers and have a legacy of sort of 3, 4, 5 generations or whatever. I get that they don't get it and they don't want to change. But I am seeing some of the younger guys coming through now, starting to, their ears prick up and they're sort of starting to get into it. So I think there's hope. But look, frustratingly, I do get it. And I know my neighbours look at me like I've got 2 heads, and I think I have sometimes. But
it would explain a lot.
Yeah, it would. So one of the things, if you think, you did mention organic farming, and everyone sort of has this thing about organic farming as being great and all that, which it is. But a lot of the organic farming is done still in a very chemical sort of way. There's certain chemicals that you can still use as an organic farmer.
Well, they've changed the definition.
Right. They have?
Well, they did several years back. And that started in America, and then, well, we do everything America does eventually.
Yeah.
But the original definition of organic was without pesticide.
Yes.
But now it's a certain percentage.
Yeah, right.
Of pesticide. Still now, I think certified organic's probably the most quote unquote reliable.
Yeah.
We'll call that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yes, we will call it that.
Yeah.
But a really good analogy is just looking at, okay, you want to grow some organic wheat, that's great. But to do that, you've got to plough that field. So you're killing all those insects. You're exposing the topsoil to the environment, which is killing the topsoil. And then you're putting a monocrop in. Whereas a more regenerative way of doing it would be direct drilling that wheat into an existing pasture and letting that grow. You're not going to get the same yield, but you're going to retain all that, the natural biodiversity and the natural ecosystems. You're not disrupting the microbiome of the soil.
But also the plants support each other.
Yeah.
So whatever eats one plant, the plant growing next to it attracts the natural predator to that, or it strengthens its immune system.
Plants are incredible.
Yeah. Have you ever read The Secret Life of Plants?
I was just going to mention The Secret Life of Plants and say that I have read it on your recommendation.
Yes.
That's an incredible book. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone about that the other day, just about how plants can actually communicate.
Yeah. Well, it shows that scientifically proven that plants are conscious as hell.
Yeah.
More so than us, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing. But when you know all that stuff, the plant's communication, through the Mycelium network, with the rhizosphere of each plant, with the community of plants in a given certain area of land, and just the conversations that are going on that we can't really, well, we can, most don't tune into, not only for the plants, but the insects they bring in, the other animals they bring in. It's replicating nature. Yeah. Where in nature does one plant grow in a single part of land? Only on a farm.
Well, never.
Yeah.
And there's always the supporting biodiversity around it of insects, worms, birds, predators, all this stuff. It's a natural cycle, and that's where, they talk about cows burping and methane and all this sort of bullshit. It's like, if you take a kilo, well, you probably know from your greenkeeping days, but if you are composting a kilo of grass clippings, that's going to produce methane. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what happens when the cow eats that same kilo of grass clippings? Pretty much produces the same amount of methane, but it's just done it quicker because it's in the cattle's rumen, and so it's just you get the same result, but then that's getting vilified for poisoning the planet.
Well, I've got another curveball for that.
Oh, great.
If you, let's say, supporting the argument that cows' farts are warming the planet up magically, you have a cow eating, what do commercial cows eat?
Oh, grains.
Sawdust, grains.
Oh, soy, corn cobs.
I've heard cement in some cases.
You've heard what?
Cement.
Far out, I haven't heard that one.
So, but this is commercially farmed cattle with 10,000 heads of cattle, which they've got to turn over as quickly as possible. I think commercially a cow is between birth and plates roughly 12 months. Run a commercial
Possibly,
farm.
I'm not sure. Probably in the US if they're straight in. Normally, in Australia, most cattle will spend around 80% of their life on pasture. Yeah. I believe that may be changing, I'm not sure, and then 20% or 30% in the feedlot.
And that cow can still be called grass-fed.
Yes.
By definition.
Yes.
So that's how they get you.
Yeah.
But if you've got one cow eating all the grains, the soy, i.e. all the words it's not designed to eat, of course that cow's fart is going to be toxic.
Yeah.
Because it's no different to any human fart.
Yeah.
From that perspective. You get a cow that's been eating grass and flowers and fruits that are falling on the ground.
And eucalyptus leaves. I see my cattle walking around and you can tell that they're self-medicating. They'll pick a couple of leaves off a gum tree.
Yeah.
They'll go around and eat a little blackberry and,
Yeah.
They're incredible animals.
Yeah. But then that cow's fart, is that going to be the same contributor to, let's call it climate change, to the commercial one? Can't possibly be.
No.
So to say cows' farts do that it's a really narrow-minded statement for me.
Yeah.
But if you also think a cow's fart's going to, going vegan, if you go vegan, good for you, I don't care. But if you're going to voice up about it and say don't eat animals because they're bad for the environment, well then you've got to consider, okay, let's do a little research project. I'm going to sleep in my garage with my cow overnight. You sleep in your garage with your car running overnight. And we'll discuss the results in the morning.
Yeah.
It's an example of hearing one thing and just running with it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the whole vegan thing, we can go on about that another time.
Well, we can go on about it, and why not?
Yeah.
The animal welfare or the cruelty to animal things is a big thing. And I completely agree with that in relation to feedlots.
I agree, yep.
And a lot of traditional animal agriculture. Chickens are probably the worst. I'm lucky enough to be able to eat the meat that I produce. I'm pretty much, probably somewhere between 90 to 95% of my diet is meat. So let's just say it's 100%.
So according to, I guess, who writes, I think it's the Dietitians Association or something, you're supposed to die of a heart attack or something.
Yeah. So I'm killing one animal for myself every 6 months. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you've got to consider all those. Okay, you've got a field of oats that you need to produce your oats from, your oat milk and porridge or whatever the hell you eat. But you're killing all those insects. Do they count? What about the worms? What about the birds that feed on the worms? They're all dead. The rabbits, the kangaroos, all this snakes.
And on it goes.
Yeah. So you're responsible for far more deaths than I am, being a almost like a pure.
But not only that, the fake meat.
Don't get me started on that shit.
No,
It's just slop.
get you
It's
started.
chemical slop
Yeah.
that should not be consumed by anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, look, if you want to be vegan for animal cruelty reasons or even climate change reasons, do it, but just eat real food. Grow your own stuff, and you know.
I think if you're going to be vegan work can work really well short term.
Yes.
I've never seen a vegan who's been vegan for several years plus that's really healthy, unless they know exactly what they're doing, because you're going to need supplements of some kind.
Yeah. They've got to be in that top 1 or 2 percentile of people who are just so dialed in with their nutrition. They've got to be having their bloods done all the time. And even then, they probably cheat and have an egg once or twice a month or something anyway.
Yeah. You just reminded me of a patient who came in late last year, and she wrote on her intake form, I want dietary advice. So she walked in the door. I'm vegan, that's not going to change, but I want to change my diet. What advice do you have? It's like,
Would you just
What do
open
you
the
say?
door and let her back out again?
well, I had
What do you do in that
to
situation?
ask why she was vegan.
Yeah.
Because with any belief, if it's not challenged or if it's not balanced, it becomes the ism.
And I know what it's like. When I was first diagnosed with cancer, I refused chemotherapy. I went to the so-called natural health expert, and as the so-called expert, he actually happens to be on the board of directors of a big vitamin company, which most of the naturopaths use, which I thought was a bit of a conflict, by the way.
Yeah.
So he pretty much put me on a vegan diet.
Mm.
So I've been there. I did that for 6 months, and then I just thought, fuck, this is just not working. I was having all these smoothies and all this turmeric and all this shit, and I wasn't getting any better, and I was getting fatter. And then I was taking all these supplements that he was recommending, that he was a director of the company that made the money from them.
Well, of course. I mean, the supplement industry isn't that too dissimilar to the pharmaceutical
Well, that's the same.
industry.
Industry.
Yeah, it's. I think there's certainly a time and place for it, but most people think that they take a certain vitamin or supplement that gives them permission to do all the other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I actually was interviewing a young fella for a job yesterday, the day before, and he's had a bit of a health journey himself, and he said, "Oh yeah, I think I've got problems with my gut." I said, "Well, what are you doing?" "Oh, well, I'm taking this and I'm taking that and I'm doing this, and but I'm still feeling." I said, "Well, to be honest with you, if you want my advice, the most important thing you can do for your gut is start removing stuff before you start adding stuff back in, and then start from a base, and then you can work out what works for you and what doesn't work for you." Not that I'm a nutrition expert or anything like that, but I think that would be probably good advice for...
Well, it's simplifying it.
Yeah.
Instead of, I would suggest 1 to 3 foods per meal.
Yeah.
Monitor how you feel, and then probably the next day, try another 3.
Yeah.
And just keep it really simple to start, because most of our digestive tracts are just bombarded with all kinds of stuff.
And if you think ancestrally what we would have eaten, well, you're from Sweden or something, aren't you? Fucking
Danish.
Eh?
Danish. Close.
Yeah. Close.
Same region.
So,
yeah.
the reality was 10,000 years ago or 15,000 years ago, what would you have been able to eat in Denmark during winter?
Well, probably not bananas.
Not bananas, not mangoes,
No.
not pineapples.
No. Nothing like that. Fruits.
Probably not much green actually in the winter.
I could have...
You might have had some sauerkraut or something like that.
So I would have lived off sauerkraut and meat.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, when I have that, especially when it's winter here, I feel great.
Yeah.
In summer, I can be a bit more...
Yeah, I've found...
My body doesn't mind mangoes and berries and melon.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
I've got a really good local store in Braidwood Arts and General Store, and they get local produce, and all I eat is what I can buy from them. And I do find in summertime, I was very strict animal based for a couple of years, but now I find I'm just sort of getting more into eating the vegetables as long as they're local.
Well, if
and
they're
seasonal.
local, you're also getting the microbiome for that particular area
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
And I think the more, I mean, I might get into the whole germ terrain debate now
we'll do that next time.
next time.
Yeah,
The more exposure you have to different microbiomes is just caviar for your immune system.
yeah. It all comes back to biodiversity, doesn't it? And all this stuff we're talking about today, working with nature and these cycles and biodiversity and yeah. So
Well, John, changing gears
Yeah.
slightly, you're also involved in a documentary that's about to come out on March 16th.
16th, Monday the 16th of March.
It's called Rehydrate Australia, Reading and Restoring the Landscape with Natural Sequence Farming. How did that come about? And can you give us a little bit of a sneak?
Yep. Yep. Like I said, we wanted to use Talaganda Farm as an education piece, and this is really, to be honest with you, it's really blown me away that I've been selected as a farmer that's featuring in this documentary series. Natural sequence farming is a type of regenerative agriculture developed by a guy called Peter Andrews. I believe around about 20 years ago, the Australian Story, ABC Australian Story, did a feature on Peter Andrews, and it was the most watched Australian story ever.
Wow.
And his thing is natural sequence farming, and that's about trying to restore the landscape, the Australian landscape in particular, but it can work in other countries as well, back to how it functioned pre-humans.
Okay.
So natural sequence farming is probably most famously known for restoring the hydrology and the water systems on properties, using contours and ponds, very much using plants to help rebuild the landscape.
That's a lot about capturing the water, like when it rains, that doesn't just run off.
So for me, being a Kiwi and trying to farm in Australia, it's completely different. So farming in New Zealand is more like Europe. And the Europeans came to Australia and tried to implement their farming systems into the Australian landscape, and it didn't work. It fucked it. They created channels to drain the swamps. They were clearing a lot of logs, so the riverbanks were cleared so they could get their barges down. And that destroyed all that biodiversity, and in a very short space of time it's completely stuffed the Australian landscape. So natural sequence farming is about trying to restore the hydrology and restore the land back to how it used to function, and the byproduct of that is increased productivity on your farm. So natural sequence farming is one of the core principles that we use at Talaganda Farm. So we're building contours, we're building ponds, we're doing a lot of planting. One of the things that you do with natural sequence farming is you're trying to move fertility to the high points around the property, and let nature and gravity release those nutrients and spread them out
Further down. Yeah.
So I'm building compost heaps on the high points. I'm dragging fertility, which can be hay, roadkill. Yeah. So returning the fertility to the high point, and also trying to attract the cattle to come and camp out on the high point, so they defecate and they pee and they poo, and that is recycling those nutrients back down and helping to improve fertility, which grows more grass. Yeah.
And more food for them.
Yeah.
And better quality.
Yeah. So this documentary, Rehydrate Australia, showcases the stories of around, I think there's 10 or 12 farmers all around Australia. I'm the small guy. I'm the Muppet from Sydney who is giving it a crack and doing it on a smaller scale. And they're right up to people who own stations. You know, they fly over their property in planes. And it's showcasing different stories about how they are using natural sequence farming to restore their landscape and to improve the productivity of their property. So it's a really important documentary for Australians to to watch and to get on board with.
What do you want people to get from it?
One, I would love to, from my story, I'd love to encourage more Sydney people to get out there and buy property and start doing it, because if I can do it, anyone can do it. And then we want to encourage other farmers to do the course and to start implementing natural sequence farming on their own properties, because a lot of people have gone through the course and done the training, but not so many have implemented it. And I just went in there blind, naively thinking that everyone who does the course goes and starts doing it. And I just did it. I just started doing it with Stuart McWilliam from Blackbird and Beast. And it's made a massive difference to our property.
I think even if you have no desire to farm or buy the land, at least support the people that grow your food.
And it's interesting. It's fascinating stuff how degraded the landscape is, but there's hope for the future. And the interesting thing about natural sequence farming and Peter Andrews is that Peter's a genius. He's one of those 1% guys who, he's probably like Rudolf Steiner, or you can probably name a few other absolute geniuses in their field, but he wasn't the greatest communicator. He's a very prickly character, and he really struggled getting the message across, and he tried working with governments and all this sort of stuff, but it just didn't work. And we're just so lucky to have his son Stuart Andrews in the picture.
I've met Stuart,
Yeah, Stuart's been to see you, I think.
Yeah.
So Stuart is Peter's son. He grew up doing natural sequence farming on their property in Towan Park, which is, I think, up sort of by Newcastle, past Newcastle up there.
Like, he's a switched on guy.
He's a very, very switched on guy. He's a great communicator. He's very much on board with the climate change narrative. But Stuart he saw an opportunity and set up Towan Park Training, which is a training organisation teaching people how to do natural sequence farming. So it's a 4-day course. I've done the 4-day course. I was lucky enough to be invited to the advanced course, which we did at the end of last year. And so he's travelling the country teaching farmers and people like me how to implement and learn natural sequence farming. And then he's starting to build up a group of landscape designers or landscape architects who go in and talk to farmers and start implementing, actually drive the machines and do the planning and implementing it around the country. So the movement is really growing, which is great to see. And thanks to Stuart, and Stuart's wife, Megan, and their 2 boys. They're all involved in the business, and they've got a massive passion to roll this out around the country.
I think even if you're not interested in farming per se, but just regenerating the land.
Yeah, well, not that. If you look at flooding, everyone knows that flooding's a massive issue in Australia. If we had, let's say, 50% of the farms in Australia had implemented some sort of natural sequence farming, that slows the flow of the water. When you get a massive dump of rain, rather than rushing down and out to sea, it's holding it in the landscape, which is just hydrating that land, but also just stopping that erosion further on down the system. With my place, I had a creek that ran straight down the middle, which was severely incised. So when it rained, within an hour, that rain was gone down the Shoalhaven River and out to sea. Now we've installed contours and chains of ponds that's slowing that down. So it might take 4 or 6 weeks to get there now. It'll still get there. We're not actually stopping that flow. We're just slowing it down and trickling it out. Yeah. So Rehydrate Australia is Monday the 16th of March at Camperdown Quarters. I'm sure you'll put a link in the show notes or something. I don't know how to do that, but
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. So the documentary goes for about 95 minutes. We're going to have a question and answer. The documentary features our good friend Stuart, who we mentioned previously, celebrity chef Matt Moran. He's got a big property and he's done a lot of work there with Stuart, actually. Charlie Arnott is another one. He's sort of one of the leaders in the regenerative space. So we've got some heavy hitters there, and we'll be doing a question and answer after the event. And yeah, I'd love to see some of your listeners there.
Well, I think it's just a really important concept first, because what we're doing to the land is clearly not sustainable.
No.
We blame cows and animals and the way we treat animals for the weather, but we don't look at what we're doing to the environment as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we're the only species that will cut down a tree, make paper from it, and then write on the paper, "Save the trees." We cut down habitats from animals like foxes and deers and whatnot, and then we build a town, and then the foxes and the deers come through the streets, and we call them a pest.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a little bit backwards as a species. We've become so smart that we're actually dumb, because no animal would pollute their own environment for a profit or just for power or control. But I think the natural sequence farming is why I got you on, is firstly because no one knows about it, but also just get people aware that, first of all, there is something we can do. And I think I read research that in the US, I think it's the US, but again, we follow everything they do, there's literally the amount of topsoil they've got left, there's only 80 harvests left.
Yes, I've heard 60 and 50 as well. Yeah,
so that means
it's not much.
50 to 80 then, 50 to 80 years of food left. That's it.
Yeah. And that's a classic example. One of the things you do not do in regenerative agriculture is till and kill ground cover. Whereas if you're in traditional agriculture, you're tilling the ground, leaving that soil exposed, get wind coming through, blows half of it away. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, people worship a god or some higher power or whatever that is. Organic regen farmers worship the soil.
Yeah.
That is their god.
Yeah.
And we, despite our accomplishments, we're here today. We've evolved through, whatever story you want to subscribe to. But all of mankind's accomplishments are here because we have a layer of topsoil and it rains.
Yeah.
So until that topsoil is protected, our time here is very, very limited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, John, this has been fun.
Yes.
So feel free to share any final comments or where people can find you or anything that you offer as we close out.
Well, I would love for you to follow Veganda Farm on Instagram. Mm-hmm. That's our main sort of thing. I put up a lot of content just about what I'm doing there. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about regenerative agriculture and the Muppet from Sydney, I'd love you to go to Talaganda Farm. Get Starkers, get.starkers is the Instagram page for my bone broth Starkers company. And look, at what I would love you to do is look up natural sequence farming on YouTube. You'll probably find the original documentary of Peter Andrews. And look, if you can't make it to the movie premiere, the movie will be released on YouTube in April. So if you search Tarwin Park Training or Rehydrate Australia on YouTube, you should find it.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Matt.
John, thank you.
See you later.
See you next time.
You've been listening to the Body's Compass podcast with Matt Sorensen and today's guest, John Manins. Check out John's Instagram at Talaganda_farm and at get.starkers. If you liked this week's episode, please consider giving us a 5-star rating and a warm review. Please share this episode with someone you think it might help. If you want to find out more, give us a follow on Instagram at The Body's Compass, subscribe to Matt's YouTube at Matt Sorensen Live, or swing by heelhub.net. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.